All right. Oh my goodness. Yay. I'm so glad you guys are here. Welcome to Let's Fall in Love with Marketing, even if it feels hard. So, one of the things that has been a line in the sand, turning point moment for me, some of you might have heard this story already because I know I have some people in business school who are here, but I'm going to share it anyways because I love it. And it reminds me of the power of having kind of this like line in the sand moment. So, it was 2 years ago now, a year ago now. I don't even know. It was a while ago now. I think it was 2 years ago, where I used to say to myself all the time, I hate marketing. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. I hate marketing. Has anyone ever said that? I hate marketing. Specifically, I said to myself, I hate emails. I can't stand emails. I hate emails. I hate receiving them. So if I hate receiving them, why would I like sending them? Right. And so I was very resistant to email marketing. I hated it. I was like, I don't like getting them. So because I don't like getting them, I'm not going to send them. And that became like a dominant story that I carried. Please tell me I'm not alone. Has anyone also had that conversation? Right. Like, I don't like it. So I'm not going to do it. Like, but then about 2 years ago, I asked myself a different question. And the question I asked myself was, okay, Megan, is it true that you hate emails? Is it really true? And then I asked myself, can you think of one email that you receive with delight, that you feel joyful when you read, that you are like lit up, that has like made a difference, transformed your life, impacted you, made you laugh? Like it doesn't need to be profound, it can be basic. And as soon as I asked that question, everything changed for me because I started to recognize I don't actually hate emails. I hate dumb emails. I hate annoying emails, but I love good emails. I have received emails that have completely turned my life around at various points. I've received emails that have introduced me to things that I integrated as to practices in my life and informed the type of mom I am, the type of friend I am, the type of entrepreneur I am. Are you going to go play now? Okay. The type of entrepreneur I am. And if that person had not sent that email, who would I even be today? Emails are like bite-sized books for me when they're the right ones. They feel good, they feel nourishing, they support me. There's this one email, this one woman who she was sending an email every single Sunday morning and she tagged it with a YouTube video. So I'd get the email, I would read it in bed before I even got up, and then I'd go and watch her YouTube video. And that's how I started every single Sunday. It was so delightful to me. And so as soon as I started asking myself that question, I'm like, oh, emails don't have to be that way, right? Marketing doesn't have to be that way. And I started asking myself, like, what do I want marketing to actually feel like for me? Okay. And I want to pose this question to you guys because I think I'm just going to throw this out there. Let me know how you feel. I think the reason most of us struggle with marketing is because the marketing practices that we witness feel uncomfortable to us. Or we've experienced toxic, unhealthy, disruptive marketing that's felt icky in our system. And being that we're all very sensitive to energy, it's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. So I'm going to distance myself from it, right? If it's been too pushy. So I'd love to hear in the chat when you think of email marketing and replace email with any type of marketing. Like I'm going to probably focus mostly on email and social media marketing. However, the techniques I'm going to share when it comes to email and social media marketing also work for in-person stuff as well. And I actually started my business doing a lot more in-person stuff than I do now. So like in-person networking, in-person workshops, and in-person events, in-person speaking, it also works. But I just love to hear from you guys. Um, you know, when you hear the word marketing, what happens for you? What does it make you think of when you think of email marketing, social media marketing, or networking? If anyone wants to unmute and share, feel free, or pop it in the chat, whatever you like. Yeah, go for it, Jamie.
I think for me, I love marketing. I love doing, I do email, but also social media. And I
Mhm.
love doing it, but I get frustrated because it doesn't feel like it's hitting. And that's when it starts becoming just like, I feel like I'm hitting my head against a wall sometimes and not knowing, not knowing what's going to hit and what's not, or what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going to hit, what's not, and what's happening. Yeah.
I love what you said though about emails that you like, although I still don't know what emails I do like because I don't like receiving them.
Mm. Okay. So this
So
is really, yeah, this is really good because it's such like a pause for reflection, right? And thinking, and one of the ways that I've healed my relationship with marketing is I've started, sweetheart, mommy needs to work. You can sit, but you have to sit still, okay? I've had to start thinking about marketing from a place of like, let me be a scientist. Let me like be in this laboratory and let me look at myself as my own test subject. Okay. So when I receive an email I like, I delight in it, first of all. And I let myself exaggerate my joy and delight in receiving it. So when I receive an email, a social media, a YouTube, a flyer in the mail, like any type of advertising or marketing, when I receive one I like, I exaggerate my delight. I pause, I slow it down for a minute, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Let me like dive into this for a minute. Like, ooh, I love what they're doing here. And I actually take this practice everywhere. Like if I'm at a restaurant and I can tell the waiter is trying to upsell me into like a fancier bottle of wine or like a nicer dinner, I'll slow that down as well and I'll be like, "Ooh, let myself feel the feeling of quote unquote being sold to. Let me sit in this energy for a minute and slow it down." And the reason I think this is really powerful is people who are in sales, because guaranteed, if you're an entrepreneur, you're in sales. Like, let's just accept that this is true about us. If you have a business, if you're an entrepreneur, you are in sales. And if that creates any resistance in your body, it's time to explore that, right? Because if you want to be successful in whichever definition of success you have, we need to not be resistant to our own business, right? We need to not be resistant to our own business. Like that is slamming on the brakes. Okay, so slowing down the process, noticing what are the emails, what are the sales conversations, and like delighting in them, being like, ah, I love it when so and so said that. I loved it when they asked me this question. I loved it when they made eye contact. I loved it when they commented on my purse. I loved it when they told a story about their personal life. I loved it when they shared photos of their family. I loved it when they talked about their life or their journey or their whatever, right? For all of us, it might be a little different, right? We all are going to have different styles that hit differently. But I think one of the games that we need to play, we get to play in sales, in marketing, and entrepreneurship is to treat ourselves like the laboratory. Okay. So that's kind of like if we're going to follow teaching points, that's point number one. Treat yourself like the laboratory and slow down your processes. The same can also be true with the challenging ones, right? If you're receiving an email you don't like, a sales conversation you don't like, social media you don't like, just be like, I'm not going to let this trigger me, or I'm not going to choose to take this personally. I'm actually just going to be like, huh, that's interesting. Wonder what's going on here. Okay, let me sit with this. You're allowed to have preferences. You're allowed to be like, no, I do not like when marketers do X, Y, and Z. That's not my jam. That's not my style. It may or may not be inherently right or wrong. Who are we to judge and decide? But you get to have your preferences. Even if it's something that I'm saying is like a great principle to follow, a great whatever strategy to use, you get to say, thank you, Megan. That's not for me. That's not my jam. You get to be that authority in your own work, right? Okay, I'm looking at your guys' comments here. I don't read any emails at all. Not a single one, Olga. I'm like, is that really true? Because you had to have read my email probably to end up here. Right? Probably. I mean, maybe you only read your social media. but I think we do read some, right? I think most of us, email has replaced snail mail, right? Most of us don't get information by actual mail anymore. Jennifer saying, I love the Power Wrath School of Shamanism monthly forecast email. Beautiful. So I would treat that as a bit of a laboratory and be like, what is it that I love about this email? Even if your offerings, your products and services are different than what that person is selling, you might still get a feeling of like, what is it I love? I love that they are open-hearted, that they're friendly, they make me feel valued. Like, start like dissecting it a little bit. Kristen is saying, I love a really great sales conversation. I feel very cared for when that happens. I love watching a good salesperson in action. I love being sold to when they're masterful. You do feel cared for. You do feel taken care of. You do feel supported because a good salesperson isn't just like blindly selling you crap. A good salesperson is like, I want to know who you are. I want to understand you. And let me see if it's possible for me to support you. If I can, I will share. And if I can't, I'm certainly not going to give you the wrong thing. Like that's not aligned, right? A good sales conversation, to be honest, in my experience, is more about the questions and the getting to know you than anything else. And if the questions and the getting to know you unfolds really beautifully, the yes is a natural, right? The yes is a natural fit. I love it. Sales and success feels like networking and owning my genius. Absolutely. I love that. Hello, hello. I think I read the first line and then delete it. Yeah, totally. Especially if we're overloaded. 100%. I like the emails from Lee Harris, from Jane Barlow, Tad Hargrave. I love Tad. He's so interesting. Yeah. What is he? The marketing for hippies or something like that. If you don't follow him, he's a super interesting guy. Peter Crone. I like it when they show links for more info and more videos. Beautiful. This is so good. Okay, so treating ourselves like the experiment. The next question I want to ask you is, yes, I don't actually get his emails, but I follow him on social. He is so great, so good. Okay, the next question I want to ask you guys is, am I willing to fall in love with this? Okay, just like the kind of the question I want you to just sit down and like sit with it and actually rate yourself on this. It may not be a yes or no. It may be on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Asking yourself the question, am I willing to fall in love with marketing? And you can add the caveat in that I'm willing to fall in love with marketing if XYZ is true, right? I am willing to fall in love with marketing if I get to be my own authentic self. Or I'm willing to fall in love with marketing if it means I get to connect with clients I love. I am willing to fall in love with marketing if it helps my clients heal. I'm willing to fall in love with marketing if it, whatever. Okay. So I want to sit with you guys for a second and just really let yourself feel into this, because here's one of the things I know to be true. If your answer to that question is like 6 or less, you are trying to drive the car with your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. You are creating resistance to moving your business forward, which will burn energy. It will burn that internal energy of like thinking things through unnecessarily. Like, you know, the wheels are turning and the smoke's coming out the ears because you're just like grinding gears. If you are trying to market while disliking marketing, you are burning fuel. You are wasting energy. You are burning gas. Something that would probably take you an hour is going to take you 3, 4, 5 hours. And I can't be the only one who feels like time is literally the most precious resource right now. I hate when I see people who use specific techniques for selling that is taught by the big marketing gurus, because I recognize it and it doesn't feel personal. Yes. So Olga, maybe yours is something along the lines of, I'm willing to fall in love with marketing if it's unique and personal to me, unique and personal to my client relationships. How are you feeling? Does everyone have to some degree, a number at least above 6 in terms of I'm willing to fall in love. I mean, you guys are all in a falling in love with marketing workshop, so I'm assuming you're open to it. Anyone have any questions or want to talk through where they're at with that? Okay, the second question is a bit more interesting, and I'm hoping to hear what some of you guys might have to say around this. But the next question is, what would I need to feel in order to love marketing? What would I need to feel? And so I love what Jamie mentioned earlier. She's like, I want to know what's going to hit with my audience. I want to know that something's connecting with them. What do I need to feel, right? For me, I set the intention 2 years ago when I was sharing that story about being like, no, I actually do love certain emails. I set the intention that I didn't want my emails to be a one-way street of me just like talking into a void. I wanted replies. I wanted people to answer and talk to me back and say shit to me. I didn't want to just feel like it was just me blabbering on, right? And so I set the intention. I'm willing to fall in love with marketing if I can get some engagement, some responses, some conversations going. I'm willing to fall in love with marketing if it means my community gets to grow and I have more community engagement, community involvement, and like get to hang out with cool people who are doing cool stuff. Right. And like talk about being a little bit meta here. The only reason I get to hang out with you guys on this call today is because I was willing to fall in love with marketing. And this is like my favorite shit in the world. Like I could do this all day long. The only reason I get to is because I chose to be willing to, right? Yes, another person whose email you love is Jeffrey Van Dyke. I don't know who he is, but that's awesome. He really knows his people. And so this is where we get to be the laboratory a little bit. Like he knows his people. So what does that mean to me if he knows his people? And do I know my people? And how do I get to know my people better? Right? It's like, oh, maybe I want to actually send out a survey. Maybe I want to connect with some of my highest engaged community members and like DM them and ask them some questions, or like send them a little note, a little video note, or a little voice message, and have open the doors to some dialogue, right? Maybe that will help me get to know my people, and so I can embody some of those traits from, this man that I admire. Right? Okay, I'm willing to fall in love with marketing if it can be simplified in delivery, easily received, and easily read. Yes, absolutely. I'm willing to fall in love with marketing to feel connection and to grow the community. That is mine, probably my top ones as well, Sarah. Like growing my community and feeling connected to my community, building a community where people can support each other. Like the amount of like friendships and buddies and energy healings and trades and client sharing and all this kind of stuff that has unfolded in my community. I get so excited every time I think about it. All I need to do is think about, oh, it makes me so happy to see that so-and-so have become friends and they've collaborated on this together and they are each other's support system now because I was willing to fall in love with marketing and build a community. Like, how amazing is that? Right. And so, again, like slowing down these moments to remind ourselves like what we're doing and why we're doing it. Anyone else want to share why, what they would need, what you need to feel in order to fall in love?
I was just thinking, for me, sorry, I only have one hand, so that's why I keep talking, because my dog's on half of me, so I can't type easily. But I just get mixed messages, and I think it's probably because I'm consuming too much social media rather than just producing. But when I'm trying to learn from others and I'm consuming it, I hear a lot over here. And then like, it's like speaking to the pain points. And then somebody says, don't speak to the pain points. Your audience knows what they need. You've got to give them the solution. And I feel like, I'm like, okay, well, which one do I do? I just feel like lack of clarity around all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, that feels like I'm willing to fall in love with marketing if it feels clear to me, if I can follow my heart. So I would just start thinking of like, what's the opposite of like confusion or muddled or mixed signals or that kind of thing. And so calling in clarity, calling in like the other thing that popped into mind when you were speaking was like, that feels like a lot of like being in our heads about it. And I think as people who are very sensitive to energy, you know, that can actually be a huge energy drain as well, as if we're overly in our heads. And it's like, okay, if I'm finding myself up in my head about this, like, how do I drop into my body and my felt sense and like an experience, right? Because so much of energy is what we feel. The other thing that I like to ask myself um, is what would like, is I try to tap into the feeling sense, right? So around marketing or emailing or launching or anything like that, it's like, well, how do I want to feel in this? And some of them are standard. I always want to feel connected. I always want to feel inspired. I always want to feel highly intuitive. Those are all like kind of standards to me. But some of them might be more like this one to me, falling in love with marketing felt more playful, right? So I was like, ooh, okay, if I want this to feel playful, how can I like feel that feeling and create from there? And I feel like some of my copy around this was a bit sassier because I was like, I just want to be playful around it. Like, let's just have fun. Why does business have to be like so serious and boring? And, you know, like, why does there got to be all these stupid rules that like, don't tell me what to do? Don't put me in a box, right? And I know a lot of people are sensitive to energy. You know, we feel that. And so we can freeze in that response. But one of the processes I've been, you know, kind of speaking through in all of this is like the slow down laboratory moment. Because what I want you guys to understand is that your discomfort with marketing means that you are here to change patterns. You are here to do things differently. You are here to do business differently. And some of these dominant um, advice, structure, and formulas may or may not be relevant anymore. Or maybe they need some tweaks, some adjustments, some shifts. And you can feel that. You can feel that because you're sensitive to energy. And so, because it's not your zone of genius, you're like, oh, well, I must not like marketing. It's showing me it's a lack of alignment. I'm not aligned with emails, or I'm not aligned with this and that, whatever. I'm not aligned with launching, or I'm not aligned with whatever the thing is that you feel off about. And instead, what I invite you to do is like slow down, be in the presence of the feeling for a minute and just say to myself, say to myself, this is what I say to myself. I invite you to experience this and see if it fits for you is if I'm feeling discomfort around this, what am I being invited to transform? Like you guys are leaders. You're thought leaders, you're feeling leaders, you're energy leaders, and you can feel the threads of misalignment, which means you're invited to transform it. If you feel a thread of misalignment, it's inviting you to show up differently and do it differently. So even if you know, buy a book or hire a mentor or take some 5-step program that tells you X, Y, Z is the answer, great, fair enough. Drop it into your body. Feel what feels good, exciting, empowering, light, playful, joyful, intuitive, connective, whatever the feelings were you wanted to feel. And anything that doesn't feel that is an invitation to transform. I want to add as a caveat, every time we do something we've never done before, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Misalignment and uncomfortable are not necessarily the same thing. Okay. Anytime we are willing to like stretch ourselves, grow ourselves, try something new, it's not going to feel easy. It's going to feel challenging. But there's a difference between challenge and misalignment. And it takes a finely tuned individual who's willing to slow it down to really kind of feel, well, which is it? Is it that this is totally wrong for me? Or is it that there's some adjustments that need to be made and there's actually great possibility here for me? And even in saying that, even in saying, ooh, there might be great possibility here for me, can you guys feel how some of us have like a around that? Like, I want great possibility, but it's also a little bit like, eek, can I handle it? It's like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting, right? Instead of being like, slam the door shut, run away, it's like, oh, let me slow it down. Nothing needs to happen in this moment, but I'm allowed to feel it, to explore it, to question it, to be curious about it, and ask myself if there's a few more options available. Yes, I love that, Michelle. Snowboarding was really hard when I first started, and now it's my favorite. Absolutely. And I would say that many times the thing we get the most joy out of in life is the thing that we had to push our own edges around. Snowboarding is a classic example of that. I think entrepreneurship is a classic example of that too. I love my work. I love what I do. But there have been many days like crying in the corner of like, can I do this? Is this going to work? Am I okay? It's been also some of the hardest things I've ever done. Same with motherhood, right? Some of the most joyful experiences and also some of the hardest experiences. And so marketing, in my experience, is the same. Every time I try on a new marketing style, a new marketing technique, a new skill set around it, experiment with something different, it's like, ooh, okay, this is all right. Let me feel it. Let me try it. Let me experiment. Let me adjust it, make it my own, see if I can create alignment with the feelings I want to feel. And let me do it a time or two and see what happens and assess, right? The whole thing is one big experiment. Yes, I could look for ways to slow down, to accept and transform in terms of my resistance to following up. This is so helpful, right? And so this is, I love what you're saying, Danielle, because oftentimes we're told things like, oh, like, okay, the follow-up is the perfect example. If someone's reached out or this and that, like follow up with that. And then instead of like feeling into the discomfort of it and exploring it, instead it just like gets bumped down the to-do list until it's been like 3 or 4 days. Oh, now it's been like a week. Oh, now it's been like 2 weeks. And then we're like, oh, now it's going to be really awkward if I follow up because it's been too long. And then we don't do it. And in that process, we actually just created a hell of a lot more resistance for the next go round rather than just like, what is it about follow up that I don't love? I don't love the pushy sales tactics. That's fine. I'm not going to follow up with pushy sales tactics. I'm going to follow up with a voice note being like, hey, how are you? Been thinking about you. I'm really curious. Did you experience XYZ benefit from the workshop you attended? Or, hey, I'm really curious. I'd love to hear from you. What did you learn when we spent time together the other week? Whatever, right? It's like, oh, that feels good. That feels like a friend checking in on me. And I love it when my friends check in on me. Cool. I can do that. Right. And so then it's like creating those new pathways, new stories of what that means, what that looks like, how that unfolds. Okay. How are we doing with this so far? So number one, willing to fall in love with marketing. That was number one point. Number two, what do you need to feel? So I want all of you guys to have written down at least 3 to 5 keywords of what do I need to feel in order to love marketing. Okay. 3 to 5 keywords. Feel free to pop them in the chat. Free, expansive, like I made a difference, like my people and I have a relationship, connection, intuitive, gentle, fulfilled, impactful. I also set the intention that the transmission in my words, the transmission in my words, whether I'm speaking them or writing them, that my words are coded with energy. And you guys all have the capacity to do this. I can code my words, I can code my graphics, and I can code the sound of my voice with intentions. So let me code them with that so that when a person even just reads a playful post from me, they are receiving an energetic transmission that will empower them, support them, welcome in abundance, welcome in love, welcome in playfulness, whatever it is, right? You can start to set that, which means people will consume and feel into your content, whether or not they're ready to buy today or next week, because they're receiving a transmission from you in all of it, right? For those of you who know how to do energy work, whether it be Reiki or any of this, you can do that with your content. You don't even have to be an energy worker though. You can just simply be willing to enchant your work, right? To use spell casting in your work, which is simply setting intentions that the people who receive this, the people who feel this, the people who read this will be supported to their highest good. The people who access this will be uplifted in greater abundance. The people who feel this will feel the love of community, right? You can set that intention every time you write. And to me, this is what creates incredible engagement with your clients. We all know that communication is more nonverbal than verbal. The energetic exchange is real, whether it's an email, a post, a conversation, a video, all of it. It can be transmitted in all of it, right? Yes, I love seeing your comments. Okay, deeply safe. Oh, Sheila, this is so, so good. Deeply safe. And so I would really break that down for myself too, of like, what makes me feel safe? And how do I transmit safety? I might even speak to it directly, just like community is one of my top values, and I speak to community directly a lot. So I would speak to some of these directly. For those of you who are looking for content, it's like, ooh, if I want to feel this way, let me just name that. Let me just name that and speak to it. So what makes me feel safe? How do I enhance safety? What's not safe? What expands safety? And really speak to that, right? Connection, inspired, coherent. Oh, feels so good. Energized. Yes. Intentional, authentic, wholesome. Beautiful. I love these comments. So then what I would do is I would invite you to have these written down at the top of your notebook or anywhere handy, like on a post-it note on your wall, so that every time you sit down to create content, pause. Okay. Pause for a minute, close your eyes, take a few breaths of landing in your body. Okay, we're going to activate the energetics when we do content. And then think those words to yourself: intentional, authentic, wholesome, right? Safe, connected, inspired, coherent, energized. And I'm going to feel those words fill my body with energy. Okay, so let's practice this together for a minute. Okay, so I invite you to close your eyes, and I want you to bring into your mind's eye, into your awareness, the word coherent. And imagine that with each breath in, the word is growing in your body to expand all the places in your body. It's creating an energetic signature within your being. And as you can really feel it, it's almost like a balloon filling inside of you. It might have colors. You can ask yourself questions like that, like if coherent were a color, what color would it be? If coherent were a sensation, what would that sensation feel like? If coherence wanted to give me a message, what would it tell me? You can really take the chance to get to know that word and then write your content from there. Then invite people to do whatever you want to do, right? Yes, absolutely. I realize the depth to which my protector part has been blocking me in business for the last few years. Yeah, safety for me and my inner child is a big key. Absolutely. This is one of the reasons why I think content marketing is even more important for sensitives and intuitives, because it's a way of screening your audience, right? The first few rounds of content that they're going to move through are screens. They're protection mechanisms in a way. They determine who is going to say yes to keep listening and who is going to say no and bounce out, right? So when you start by talking on like a light subject, an easy subject, but still something that's like kind of mystical or kind of magical, anybody who doesn't resonate with it will bounce, right? And so then on the next layer, you can take it deeper. And you know now that the people who are on layer 2 with you are there because they're here for the mystical, magical, whatever, right? They want the depth. This is one of the reasons why I love email marketing, because every single person on my email list is there because they chose to be there. I didn't put anyone there without their permission. Nobody is getting pushed this stuff by a random algorithm. They've asked to receive it. They've raised their hand and they've said, Megan, please send me more, right? They've invested in my business. If someone has joined my email list, they've invested in my business. They bought in. And so that's a place of intimacy. People read emails. Like I said, I read my emails in bed, right? People read emails in bed. They, whatever, like laying on the couch with their loved ones, snuggling with their pets or their children. Like it is such an intimate experience to share that space with your client when you truly think about how this communication is unfolding. There's no pretenses. Like we get to be how we want, right? You get to be as open-hearted as you choose, particularly in email. The same can be said for anything that is like a Facebook group, for example. Nobody gets forced into those groups. They have to accept or choose to join. I am of the belief system, try this on, you don't have to believe the same as me, that nobody should be added to a Facebook group. They could be invited, right? But even that, I don't tend to DM invites to my Facebook group. I will create an opportunity for someone to join because there's value there that's a fit for them. So I do my energy forecasting in my Facebook group. Everybody who's in there has already raised their hand and said, Megan, I want to know more about numerology. I'm into the weirdness that you have to share with the world, right? Like I'm here for whatever crazy you're going to talk about. So I can do an unfiltered. I'm not worried about any judgment. And if I were to say something that other people wouldn't resonate with, they get to exit. They get to unsubscribe. They get to leave the group. Whereas on your platform like Instagram or Facebook or wherever else you decide to promote things, that could get pushed to people who haven't opted in or asked or raised their hand or invested. And so it's a great place to have it like the first date, quote unquote, conversations where it's a little bit lighter. You're testing the waters a little bit and you're just getting to know each other. You're just getting to know each other. You're building a connection. You're building safety. You're building rapport. And then when they invest, when they say yes, when they buy in, when they give an email, join a Facebook group, they're kind of in the next layer. Then you get to be your fully vulnerable, let it flow self. And I think this is an important reminder for people who are sensitive to energy because we often feel that we need to hold back for fear of judgment. Has anyone ever felt that way? That if they were to share exactly what they wanted to share that was on their heart and mind, that they might be judged or criticized, right? And if you've ever felt this way, I find it really helpful to know you've got two layers of marketing. You've got the one layer where you share freely, because this is the dinner table conversation. This is the first date conversation. This is the, whatever. And I'm not saying you can't get crazy as you want with that. You totally can. This is for people who are hesitant to. And then you get to show the fullness of it in step 2, right? Under the next layer. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. Okay, so I got you to pick out the feelings you want to feel, talked you through dropping them into your body and writing from that place. Okay, I want to take you guys through a quick little content creation strategy. Do you guys want to do that? How to make this actually easy and tangible and doable. Mira wants to wave to you guys. You saying hi to everybody? Okay, can mommy finish teaching this? Why don't you go have your snack? Are you hungry now? No? Okay. So I'm going to walk you through a process that I use. I use this process where you can collapse it or shrink it, make it big, make it small, whatever, size you want. You can either use this process to take one idea, one concept, one thought to a week's worth of content. You can actually do it to take one thought, one idea to a month's worth of content. You can even do, and this is what I do, especially when I'm in launch mode, is I'll do this exact process every single day, because the goal for me when I'm in launch mode is to do at least 3 posts a day, okay, on social media. So I want you to think to yourself for a minute, like, what's my optimal schedule of posting content? Okay. I'm going to say that for most people, best case scenario is once a day. And that might freak some of you out. And for some of you, that might be like, oh my God, I already post way more than once a day. So that's okay. Wherever you're at's fine. If you're a once a weeker right now, I encourage you to play with every second day. And if you already do every second day, I encourage you to play with once a day. Okay. I'm going to make it so easy for you to do so. So do you know where you're at right now? And do you know where you want to be? My challenge to myself, if anyone wants to do this with me for the month of February, starting either today or tomorrow, is to do 3 posts a day for the entire month. If anyone wants to play with me on this. Jamie's going to do it. I knew you were going to do it with me, Jamie.
I'm curious, when you say post, do you mean actual post or like a post, an email and a story, or just clarify what you mean by 3 posts a day?
I define it as any piece of content that will not expire. So it could be an email, it could be a wall post, it could be a reel, it could be a video of some sort, but not a story because the stories expire. If I do a story and that's all I've done, I would try to figure out a way to turn it into a reel or something. So at least it counts as like something that will stick around. Not with your shocked face. It's going to be so easy, so easy. And honestly, you can take this process and I'm going to break it down so that in 1 hour, you guys will have a post a day for a week. So who wants to at least commit to 1 hour to a post a day for a week? And if you don't do it a post a day for a week, do 1 hour of content creation and then post it over 2 weeks. That, again, this is totally your choice. But really thinking about what's your goal. And to me, the goal is always to ladder up, right? A lot of content, marketing people will say, you got to do 3 times a day for the algorithm, and you got to do this and you got to do that. But if that is too big of a jump for you, you'll do it for a couple of days and then you'll freak yourself out and then you'll stop doing everything, right? We've all done that before. That's a common response if we try to jump too quickly before we're ready. So instead, we ladder our way up, right? We baby step our way up. Okay, enough of the intro. Let's actually get into the doing of it. I want you guys to do this with me. I'm going to give you a couple journal prompts. If you've got a Google Doc open on your screen, you can type this on a Google Doc. If you've got a pen and paper and you want to journal it, then feel free to do that. I'm going to open up a screen share and share some journal prompts with this workbook here. Oops, 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 oops. And honestly, this system becomes so easy. I had a friend talk to me the other day and they were like, oh, you've been super busy on social media. And I was like, I feel like I've like big time slacked in the last month. And they were like, oh, it seems like you're always posting. And I'm like, wow, for me to go from feeling like this is such a chore to me feeling like I'm slacking and other people think I'm posting a lot, it just goes to show how quickly you can really create momentum with this system with not a ton of effort. Okay. So here's a couple questions I want you to think about. I want you to pick one. Okay, here's some easy ones. I want you to think of your ideal client. You can think of someone you've already worked with, like an actual person, like I did a session with my client Jane last week. Or if you want, you can think of like the energy of your ideal client. Like it's a person who is experienced XYZ and would desire ABC. Okay. Either way, I want you to think of them and I want you to bring them to mind. Imagine them sitting in front of you like you guys are having a cup of coffee together. And then the process we did a few minutes ago, where you drop those words into your body. So dropping in connection, dropping in, coherence, intuition, inspiration, whatever your 3 to 5 words are, dropping them into your body, bringing to your mind's eye the person in front of you. And then what is your wish for them? And just answer that journal prompt. My wish for you is. And give you guys a minute or two to answer that. If that one's not landing for you, you can pick one of the other ones. I want you to know this is available for you, or what if it's possible that. Does everyone at least have a couple thoughts down for my wish for you, or what if it's possible? We want you to have a couple ideas down, a couple of sentences. The more you do, this is one of the things that I've discovered over the years is, I've talked to so many people about this. Content begets content. The more you create content, the more you create content. The more you start to think in this frame of, how would I connect with my ideal client? What do my ideal client need to hear right now? What are they struggling with right now? What would support them right now? The more you start to think that, the more answers you will have. And if you're in the place where you're not used to thinking that way, it will just take some effort to create that thought process, which is why it's really helpful to notice the experiences you have with other salespeople and be like, oh, I liked when they did this. Okay, copy them, right? Literally copy them. They're not offering and selling the same thing you are. Copy them. Take the principles, what they did, the style of how they did it, and do it yourself, right? Copy them. If you get an email you love from someone, even if it's in a totally different niche, totally different market, even if it's just like a boutique's email or whatever, you're like, oh, I like how they did this. Okay, how can I do that for my people? Okay. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, till pretty soon you have more content than you know what to do with. Okay. So that journal prompt becomes your long form content. Ideally, you have like 2 to 3 paragraphs, or like a paragraph with a couple of bullet points. Like, when I think of like my wish for my client, I probably have like 3 to 5 things that I wish for them, right? Like, I wish for you to understand how powerful your intuition is. I wish for you to have the type of relationship with your business where you are so supported to do the work you want to do. I wish for you that your work and your life never feel at odds with each other. Those would be my 3 wishes off the top of my head, real quick. Boom. I could write a really great piece of content around that. Okay. So now I have those 3 wishes for my client. I'm going to write a letter to them, right? That one of my favorite ways of writing content, I think of it as a love letter to my client, which is like slightly poetic, but it's just this like feeling based thing of like, whatever. If you scroll through my content, you can see, if you go back and look at some old posts, you can kind of see what I'm talking about, but it's like a love letter. Okay. So that becomes the long form content. I would use that exact piece of content in 3 ways. Number 1, I would email it to my list. Okay. Everybody on my list would get it. I might beef it up if it's an email. If I felt like I wanted to get a bit more personal, I would add more personal details in the email version. On the Facebook and Instagram version, I might keep it a little bit more brief, but there are many times where it's a literal and exact copy and paste, right? So that's an email, that's a long form post. The next thing you can do with that long form content is you can put it on your website as a blog. And I just get my assistant to do it for me, you guys. I literally get her to, every time I send long form copy out by email, she goes through and picks her favorites. And every 2 weeks, she takes one and turns it into a blog for me. It's my writing. She just copies and pastes it, puts it in a blog, adds a graphic. Easy peasy. My blog has been updated every 2 weeks for like 2 years because of her. So powerful for your SEO, right? From there, okay, so one thing I've written has now turned into 3 pieces of content already, and we're only talking about the first step, okay? One thing, 3 pieces of content. The next thing I will do is I will take out key bullet points. There are people who do not want to read your long hair. Sure, you can paint it, yeah. There are people who don't want to read the paragraph. There are people who are like, just give me the nuts and bolts. Just give me the nitty-gritty details. So if I've written 3 paragraphs, I'm going to take a key sentence out of each paragraph and I'm going to have 3 bullet points. So the goal is in step 2 here, where it says carousel, I'm going to take those like well thought out pieces and I'm going to distill them into 3 sentences. 1 sentence per slide. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to either use Canva to have, like, you can get a template on Canva where it's like a quote post or whatever. I mean, obviously I would recommend that you personalize it to some degree, like put your little photo on it somewhere. But honestly, one of my favorite things to do is to just take nature photos, because I always am hiking all the time. It's kind of part of my brand anyways. It's who I am. And I just put the text over top of a photo of the lake, or I put the text over top of a photo of a hiking trail. Boom. Super easy. Okay. So now I had a long form post, turn it into 3 sentences, and now I have 3 slides, right? A carousel or a swipe through is just like 3 slides where people like look at picture 1, look at picture 2, look at picture 3. Okay. And Instagram treats them differently, right? So the algorithm treats them differently and your engagement will be different. It's extra bonus points if your little quote graphics are shareable, right? So a lot of times if you can turn it into an affirmation, like the ones I just said, I could turn it into an affirmation of like, claim that your business and your life support each other. Share this to claim it now, right? Or drop an emoji to claim this for your truth, right? I really like the ones that are personalized. So if you can do personalized ones, that's really fun too. A bonus thought of this one for people who are like, ooh, want to get into the nerdiness of content creation is you can do one of those screenshot ones with this too, by taking like 10 to 12 quotes and putting them in a reel that moves really quickly. And then your people screenshot it to find out which one is for them, right? So if you have like 10 to 12 affirmations or something like that, that's a bonus point, but not to get carried away with it. You've got your long form, which you've already written. Take your 3 key sentences out of it, and that creates the carousel. Okay. From that, I will also create a reel. So there's 2 ways you can create the reel from that. The easiest way, in my opinion, is to just turn the camera on and talk and like say those 3 points to the camera. Boom, you now have a reel. There's also conversation that the algorithm likes faces. So posts that have your face and selfies and you talking, the algorithm tends to like that. People tend to like that, right? We like to look at faces. But there's also people who will take what they call the B-roll footage of like them typing on their computer or them cleaning their kitchen or them putting their makeup on. Or when I do B-roll footage, it's more like the lake or a hike or something. And then they just overlay the text on like a 6-second video, right? So you've got those 3 bullet points. You already put them in the carousel. Now add those 3 bullet points to some B-roll footage, and now you've got a reel. You could do 2 reels by doing one of you talking them and one of you typing them over the B-roll footage. Are you guys with me? Is anyone completely lost right now? A carousel is just simply 3 or so graphics in one post on Instagram. So you'll see there's like little dots at the bottom and you can swipe through. So there'll be picture number 1, swipe through, picture number 2, swipe through, picture number 3. They call it a carousel or a swipe post. It just means that there's multiple graphics. It's not a video. It's just multiple graphics posted at once. Yeah. You guys with me on this so far? Yes, slowly beginning to understand. You've got this. You guys with me? Yes. The holistic psychologist does great carousel posts. Anytime you have a call to action, that's like sign up and get the thing or whatever. I like carousel posts for that because you can do 2 or 3 education information, and then the last one can be your call to action, right? Can be very engaging. Absolutely. And the holistic psychologist does it in such a way that people really love to share her stuff too, right? So you can, if you like that, look at her stuff and be like, why do people share it? And why do I love it so much? And just kind of get your wheels turning. Are you guys with me so far? So far, if you're with me, you've now created a long form post, a blog post, an email, a carousel, and either 1 to 2 reels. You guys, we're on 6 pieces of content and we're not even done yet. Are you with me? Anybody lost? Anybody need a minute more on ask me anything on this? This one's my favorite, you guys, is the engagement post. The engagement post is simply a question. I try to make it short and sweet. I try not to make it too talky. I literally try to just do one question, right? So I might say something like, you know, what does balance between work and life look like? Right? Kind of playing off the examples I just shared, right? What would that look like to you? Or has anyone ever felt balance between work and life? Is that even a thing? Right? How do you handle it? Any type of question where people feel like you genuinely want to know their ideas, thoughts, beliefs, and experiences on something is so, so, so good. When I was creating this workbook, one of the questions I asked was, what are some of the myths that you've heard around content creation? And I got so many great answers. And you guys, this is such gold because this is now like your R&D, right? Because now your client is telling you exactly what's on their mind around your topic, right? If you can ask a really good engagement post once a week, it's such a great way of building your community. It doesn't have to be that complicated too. It can either just be a question that you and your friend have talked about, right? And then testimonial. So the last one would be if you can think of a client you've supported through, if you can find one that's related to the topics you're sharing, that's the best option. So like if I'm talking about work-life balance or you know, whatever, I can't remember how I got on the topic of that. But if I could find a testimonial of someone I supported in that topic that speaks directly to it, gold star. Otherwise, just any old random testimonial, right? Case study testimonial. I like doing testimonials that are just simply screenshots from chat. So I'll say to people, like, can you share with me what the impact was of working with me, or if you received any benefit? And then if they type something that looks really good, I'll say to them, can I please screenshot this and share it as a testimonial? And 9 out of 10 times they say yes. So it's a really powerful way to do it. I would also invite you to get testimonials following basically every client session you have, right? Whether you do that in just being like, can I have a testimonial? Whether you ask them good questions to create a testimonial, whether you do like an exit interview. I do that in my numerology certification where I get them to fill out a survey and we go through the questions together. It's a really great way to get testimonials, but also get feedback on how you can improve your work. Again, it's like paid research and development. Okay, so now I just walked through how we took the one idea and we literally created anywhere from 4 to 8 pieces of content around it. That is your 1 a week or 1 every 2 days for 2 weeks, right? Are you guys with me? Or are we all just kind of like, oh my God, give me a temperature check, someone. Where are you guys at? Jamie's down. I like it. I feel like I have some people who are like, holy shit, what did we just walk through?
Yeah, a little bit of deer in head, not deer in headlights, because I do post, but oh, I go into
Yeah.
because I'm just not clear, and I know that.
So what would the part be that you're not clear on?
I'm just like kind of on what I want to post and
Yeah.
and how I want to, I guess in a way, like intertwine personal, like, you know, like showing my life, but intertwining what I do also in that, right? So, and um, without coming across as salesy or pushy or this or that.
Mhm.
So I almost go on the assumption of that, well, if they see a little of this or that, they will know,
Yeah. They won't.
but they won't. That's all. I'm learning that because, there's been a couple of things and they're like, well, I didn't know that that's what you do. I was like, well, how do you not know that that's what I do?
I literally need to tell you this story, Lana. So I never laughed so hard in my life. I posted about a free training I did. This is like a year ago. I posted about it every single day for 30 days. I was like, I'm doing a training, come and join. La 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 la. I'm doing a training, come and join. La la la. Every single day for 30 days. I also emailed my list like 10 times. And then on the very last day, I thought I was being silly. I posted like this sassy little question of like, haha, in case you didn't know, I'm doing free training today. Like, felt like just being silly because I'm like, I know I blasted my social media with this. I had multiple people say, wait, what? You are? Can you send me the link? And I was like, I have not shut up about this for a month, and you guys don't even know. You don't even know. So people have no clue. They literally have no clue between how the algorithm works, how busy everyone is, how overwhelmed people get and they scan and they miss chunks of your text, how up in their own head they are. Like people just don't know. And so it's a gift to give them opportunities. The other thing that I really realize with people is they hear it once, they sit with it. They hear it again, they sit with it some more. They hear it again, they're like, oh, I wonder if that's something I could use. They don't answer the question yet. They hear it 2 or 3 more times and they're like, that might be a good thing for me to do. Then they hear it again, they're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Right. And for most people, that process takes like 10 or more engagements with your brand and seeing a call to action. And I witnessed myself doing it. The other thing I would add, and this fits to Sheila's comment about safety, is I know that consumers need to feel safe to buy. It's a requirement. If they do not feel safe with you, they will not buy. If there's any part of them that feels that you're not in it for the long haul, that creates a lack of safety for them. If they feel like you're going to be flash in the pan or this is a one-off and then it will be gone, they're like, well, whatever. Like if she's serious, she'll do it again in a couple months time and then maybe I'll do it then. Right. And so there's also this safety that comes from being consistent, predictable. We see what's happening. We know you're around. You're now an established brand. You have a reputation. All of that stuff, it gets built over time. And as much as we want to think like a viral thing is going to do the thing or a quick post is going to do the thing, in my experience, it just doesn't really work that way. Like people need stability. I love that, Sheila. It feels more doable. Yes. Every time I go through this process, it gets easier. Every single time. It used to take me like probably a few hours to go through this process. Now I can go through this exact process in like 30 minutes or less. It's super, super doable. Do you recommend a group, a page, or a meta suite? I have all of those things. So I recommend doing whatever you have the capacity for. Don't only promote in your group, also promote on your page and your profile. Promote everywhere. MetaSuite is like the Instagram, Facebook thing, and it lets you schedule posts. So I do use MetaSuite to schedule posts. So like if I schedule something on MetaSuite, it'll go to Instagram and to Facebook simultaneously, or whenever I schedule it. I can also schedule to my group on there, and I can schedule to my personal or to my business page, my group, and Instagram. Yeah. So that's helpful. Like, especially if you do all this in one go, which is what I would recommend. I would do all of this at once, block off the morning on whichever day you want, create all 4 to 6 or to 8 pieces of content at once, and then use MetaSuite or whichever software you want to schedule them to go out once a day, right? And that way it's done. You know, you can totally post on the fly if you want. I kind of experiment. I often will save my reels as drafts and post those on the fly. But I will create everything all in one go. I use Kajabi for my emails and newsletters. It's kind of an all-in-one system that holds like your website, your emails, your course platform, your payment processors, your funnels, all of that. So it's quite comprehensive, which is why I love it. For anybody that wants something simpler, there's lots of more simple options. Like a free option is MailChimp. I haven't used MailChimp in years, so I don't know what it's like now. That's free. Kajabi runs like, I think 200-ish a month. But there's plenty of options between like free to 200 as well. And there's options that are way more expensive than Kajabi as well. Thank you. I do want to let you guys know that if you want consistent support with this, I'm reopening the doors to my membership, which is the Magical Content membership, Magical Magnetic Content. And it's $27 a month. So it's an inexpensive membership that's focused on creating content. So what we do in that membership is once a month, we meet as entrepreneurs, drop in call, come if you want, you don't have to if you don't want to, which is about us. So checking in with our energy, checking in with what our calls to action are, knowing what your calls to action are every month or every week is critical to making this process work really smoothly. So understanding what those are, understanding what our offers are, talking through it, doing our own reading on our own energy so that we feel aligned. Call number 2 is a content workshop where you can ask me questions, have hot seat coaching, brainstorm content. You know, people have come to me with all kinds of things like, oh, I'm going to launch a workshop. What's the best content strategy to promote it? Or I'm selling this. What would you recommend for my opt-in, my freebie? How do I promote this? How do I get people to come to this type of thing, right? And we brainstorm. You can bring content ideas and I'll give you feedback on them. For people, like oftentimes people were coming where they didn't really have ideas. And so we were just talking things through until they had ideas and they could start putting them into action. And then the third call is what I call Writing Temple, which is where I create a temple space, an energetic space, and we tap into that and write together. So it's video off, muted on, and it's just really accountability in this temple space where it's like we sit down and we'll do this process together on Zoom, but we're not on video. So I'll start it, I'll open it up, I'll create the temple. You'll write for 50 minutes, let's say, put all this stuff together. And then at the end, we'll close it out and you can either keep writing or start posting your stuff or whatever. So yeah, monthly membership. Super easy and a lot of fun, especially if you decide you do want to take on some content challenges and post consistently, post regularly if you want that accountability and that support and someone to kind of like walk through your content with you. Is there anything else? Oh, I walked through in this little workbook. If you guys want to see, I walked through one of my examples of how it played out. So this was the long form post that I turned into an email. So you can see it's multi-paragraph with some emojis and a picture because we do that, right? The face is a thing, a good thing, or a brand photo, whatever you want. Then from there, you can see how I took out 4 key sentences and made 4 graphics. And then I had my little branding graphic, which was the call to action. And then I linked through, well, you can see this is B-roll footage. It's just literally me turning the page in my journal with some text overlay. So I did that with my 3 to 4 key bullet points. And then I asked a couple of questions. I asked 3 questions. So you can see how I turned that content into 3 questions. And look at how much content or how much engagement I got on my questions. So good. Lots of great answers. And I also did a testimonial post right there. There we go. So yeah. All right. I want to hear from you guys now. Number 1, what was the thing you needed to hear today where you're like, okay, that's what I needed to get out of today's workshop? Yay. So happy you love it, Sheila. Thanks, Carrie. It's so easy. It really, really is. If you take anything from this, I hope you realize that we make it harder than it needs to be. It's really not that complicated. And if you're willing to do it and you want to enjoy it, it's actually fun and playful. Yes, you are so welcome. Anyone want to share their takeaways? Good, Vicky. That makes me happy. I made it really easy and accessible. It is. Yes, I did share the workbook out. You should have received it with the Zoom link. Let me know if you're not getting the emails, but you should have received it with the Zoom link. I will send the recording out though, and I'll relink it in the recording as well. Yes, reinforce it. Super helpful, simple, fun. Yes, it is really powerful to tap into how you want to feel and how you want your client to feel before you write. Yes, the fun in the process. It is fun. It is fun. It's especially fun when you get that level of engagement with your clients, which you get to create by design, right? Like when I have people responding to my emails and responding to my posts or DMing me about them saying, oh my gosh, when you shared this, this is how it impacted me. Like that's everything to me. That makes me feel fulfilled and makes me realize like what I'm doing matters. And for all the like parts of it, it's worth it. I can do hard things easily. I love that, Tina, when we slow down and we know the next step. Yeah. Doing marketing on my own terms is a thing. I can fall in love with that idea and move forward with it. Beautiful, Rika. Yes, we get to make our own rules around this. We get to make our own rules around this. It gets to be how we want it to be. It gets to be fulfilling, gets to be fun, gets to be playful. Okay, so if anybody is ready to join me in Magical Magnetic Content, I will be sending out the links. We will have our first call. I believe it's actually tomorrow. Let me just double check my calendar. But if you have any questions or you need to talk through it with me at all, let me know. And I hope I get to see some of you there because it's super fun creating content with a group where we can all help each other, support each other, build that sense of community together, and do it in a way that's energetically aligned. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Mwah. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk soon. Bye.